press. We have met here today in our special National Executive Committee meeting of the African National Congress. We did outline when we presented the ANC statement on the results at the Rock that this week will be a very busy week. We started with the officials meeting where we mapped the strategic framework for the ANC. That strategic framework was presented to the National Working Committee, of which yesterday the national spokesperson gave a brief about the outcome of that National Working Committee meeting. Now, the National Working Committee today will report to the National Executive Committee of the ANC on the strategic framework and what then is the way forward in relation to the talks we have held, and also in relation to the consultation and engagement in the exploratory discussions with other political parties we have had. And then on the basis of the framework we will present here today, the National Executive Committee will deliberate and take a decision and give a further mandate to the team that is dealing with this important matter of how we're going to constitute government post the elections. When we are done later today, the closing address of the president will be open to the media, where in which you will then now get it from the horse's mouth as to what has been decided by the National Executive Committee. And our apologies up front, because that may take us, let's say, around 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So just to appraise you up front that as the media, you have to have a patience for the whole day. So there's no need to leak. The information will come to you. And to bother sources, because this process, like we said, requires transparency, and at the same time to tell you exactly what, as the ANC, we seek to do for South Africa post the election. And the president of the ANC, you will be invited, will outline and explain that particular position post National Executive Committee discussions. Thank you very much.
Okay, so questions, we'll take a few. You'll pardon us because we're going to a meeting. So I'll start here, Mawande, and then we go.
Thank you very much, SG. It's Mawande from the Sunday World. There's a protest outside that is saying not with the DA, which is basically against an ANC going into bed with the DA. They state their reasons from various type of reasons, DA being an enemy in terms of ideology and stuff like that. What is your response about the protest outside?
The protest is protesting on the basis of disinformation. Because the ANC have never said that is going into coalition with the DA. The question of the framework, strategic framework, is going to look into the outcome of the elections. And the outcome of the elections, as we all know, does not favor the ANC. And it is, we did outline that we're talking to everyone, who in terms of the leaderboard, it is quite clear in terms of the significant numbers that they have received. The message from South Africans, as outlined by the president, is very clear: work together. So we don't have outright majority. Even in this instance, we have lower numbers. Yesterday, Mahlengi will have given you a report that says the flavor of our engagement with political parties. And we have engaged with everybody, and we're still talking to even others, even smaller parties, because we want to bring everybody on board, because South Africans want us to work together for their sake. And we have said, as the ANC, we will prioritize the people. We don't want instability. We want a stable government. Also, we have got keen interest in terms of seeing through our manifesto being implemented. What these 6 million people of South Africa have voted for. They voted for continuity of the ANC. They voted for more jobs. They voted for the expansion of social protection. They've voted for growth and jobs for the economy and all of that. So that is what really is important for South Africa going forward. And so the protest is unfortunate and is really misplaced because this is a time for sober minds. Even here inside, we were not going to go in and think that we think alike. We're not, dealing with the discussions from a point of view of locking ourselves into one option. And we're looking at all and various options. The ANC have been here before. I mean, we didn't resolve a strategic and important question through protest. When we defined the transitional period for the country of South Africa through the strategic perspective that was led by Joe Slovo, there was different views in the ANC. Others said no, don't go that direction. When we came to negotiate with the Nationalist Party in 1990 and mapped out what was called the Groteskir Minute and discontinued the armed struggle, it was not like we all agreed about it. The ANC have always led from the front through accepting dissent and at the same time allowing engagement and intellectual engagement and engagement, broadly speaking, about issues. We were in Codesa 1. This, I think, can be likened to Codesa 2. So where you talk and you even talk to people that you know that you don't agree with and map out a solution for the country because the people have put us here. The protest would not have been there if the ANC had won elections.
To be clear, the recommendation, sorry, it's 10 minutes from Bloomberg News. The recommendation from the NWC for a government of national unity, it is a recommendation. This meeting can come up with a counter proposal that may change that. That's the first question. The second question is, can we assume then after this meeting that is the end of talks about talks or exploratory talks, and you're now going with formal proposals to support it?
Can we just take a few questions?
No, let me just take them because I don't have a pen to note.
Right. Yeah.
I think talks about talks continue. We are now moving to a stage, having received a mandate from the NEC to hard negotiations. And then where we look at the option, including the technicalities, because the GNU that we talk about might be different from 1994. So the devil is in the detail. So the technical team, in terms of negotiating and all of that, will receive a broad mandate. But here we are expecting a sober discussion and engagement, and based on also experience of other countries in the world who have been in the situation like ours. Never have we envisaged that we will, at national level, not think but be in a situation where we have to talk about coalitions and all of that. So proposals put here are not cast in stone. Members of the NEC, they are not robots. They are allowed themselves to express themselves and engage. And that is why we are of concern when others were breaking away from the NEC rule of the center holding and going to engage outside that, because there's not been any position, and the position will be derived from this meeting, which is the National Executive Committee, the highest decision-making body of the ANC. And the president will pronounce on that at the end. But like we said, we are open to talk to everybody, including the MK party. So what we know is what the leader of the party has said, and it's very difficult to talk to people there, because when you talk to them, they tell you that they are still waiting for Ubaba. So, and Ubaba gatolakali. So we try to reach out, and even if yourself you can be in a position to help us, but the country must move ahead. The country must go on. The results have been pronounced. In the next 2 weeks, we must elect the speaker and elect the president. So we are open. We are open to talk to MK party. So that's not an issue for us.
Mr. Mbalula Samkela from the SAPC. On the issue of the Democratic Alliance, is this a question of an ideological deadlock or ideological contestation within the party? Those whom are conservative or who are moderates may say go DA, and those whom are perceived as radicals, the leftists, may say go with MK party and the Economic Freedom Fighters? Does this have the potential of splitting you right down the middle, especially with the onslaught against your Deputy President, Paul Mashatile?
No, we know of such rigidity. We're looking at models. It's not either highway or the small path. The question is, what have you achieved? What is before us and what model is good for South Africa? And when that model is agreed, will others beyond even the ANC agree to it? And that's what is important. And so it's not just a question of talking quality without a model. It's a question of saying, do we have a model in this country through a national dialogue that will take South Africa forward, preserving the interest and safeguarding the interest of political parties in a particular way, without a political demise and identity of political parties? So we're at that stage now. The distortions out there, that's why we announced that we'll talk even to the DA, because there were distortions already. Agreement that has been agreed to with the DA, and that is it. So that's not the case.
Mr. Mbalula, I think you're not getting the... Okay.
No, my understanding is like you are saying that is either EFF or MK and all of that. I'm saying we've got scenarios. From scenarios, we've got options. And we have narrowed down to GNU, where we invite everybody. So we have not confined ourselves to an identity of a party, because another political party may say we are not interested in that. What do? You negotiate. At the end of the day, negotiations are informed by the readiness to compromise and to accept for the goodwill of the people. The primary principle that guides us on this engagement is the interest of the people. Those who voted for the ANC, 6 million strong on the leaderboard, but equally those who did not vote. We've got a country to run. We've got a country to ensure that it actually moves forward, and that is what we're interested in.
Okay. Mr. Mbalula, the SACP has been clear that it doesn't want the DA. Is this the same stance that has been spoken to you by COSATU as well? And also the NEC member, Zizi Kodwa, has he resigned from the NEC?
Zizi has stepped aside. He has not resigned whilst he addressed the issues that is actually facing. And he has done that voluntarily, informed by the policy of the ANC. He is not forced to do it. And to that, we are very much grateful to him for taking a step that has been taken before by comrades like Mike Mabuya Kulu and all of that. So the issue of, what are you talking about?
The SACP
no, we'll engage with the SACP and understand them. Where do they stand in relation to the issues that we are raising in terms of the model? Everybody have got a right to say no, not this direction and all of that, but there are limitations in these things. I wish we could be standing here and not talking coalitions and having won the election outright. We didn't, and that is the reality. Thank you.
Okay, just one last question.
Yeah.
Last question, because we need to go to the meeting.
It sounds so much like, the pro-market analysts who are saying IFP, DA, ANC would be much more stable. So I don't want you to be quoted out of context. I'm giving you an opportunity to just...
Everybody talks stability.
Yes.
Everybody who has spoken, they want stability. It's not market-oriented. The question is, if you put the principle out there, who's prepared to come with you to execute government of national unity? And in it, what is it? How do you define it in terms of content? And that is what is important. So you may be talking GNU, others have got a different concept of it and all of that. So you are going to go to negotiations. So if you start first by saying, I will not talk to so and so, I will not do this and that, it might lead us to many months of instability without forming government and running government and all of that. We don't want that. We want, and everybody else has been sensible that we have talked to, and they are ready to move forward and to engage with us and so on. We